Welcome back to the Digital Gateway. This entire podcast is about the ins and outs of the modern technology. And specifically, we're focused more on the AI development sector. I'm your host, Aaron Monson, again, here, the CMO of OfficeGenie. And today I'm joined by the CEO and founder, Hayden Smith, in addition to COO, Mike Schilling, and CTO and technical wizard, Zane Imdad. In today's episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to dive into the nitty gritty of our team structure, the company as a whole, our products, kind of where we began, where we're at now, and where things are going in the future. As well, we're going to be discussing our position in the market, some of the pressing questions that many of our customers have asked in the past. Maybe we're going to be able to check some of those boxes for you as the viewer. In addition, our goal is to provide as many answers as possible so that you, as a buyer, can have an informed decision when looking for products on the market. So starting from the top, thanks for fitting this in your schedule, guys. I really appreciate it. Hayden, thank you. I know that you're doing 1,001 things. Same with you, Mike. And basically, if you guys can just do a quick introduction for me and kind of break down, Hayden, introduce yourself, your background, and kind of the journey of what made you start OfficeGenie here from the beginning.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Hayden Smith. I'm the CEO and founder of OfficeGenie. A little bit about me. I'm currently a student at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, studying computer science. I'm in my senior year there. I'm also in the United States Army, as with Aaron and Mike as well. Personally, I like to just do a lot of coding stuff. About a year ago, I started OfficeGenie. I was a data analyst for a telecommunications company, created OfficeGenie as an internal tool for myself and then for my team, and decided to turn it into a business. And kind of here we are now. The inspiration was really just to help people with knowledge management, help people being able to answer questions. OfficeGenie has definitely grown and changed since then, but that has been kind of our standard view in which we look at the product and how to improve it. There's been a lot of challenges. Obviously, everyone's going through some different stuff in their life. I'm getting married in the next month, so everyone's kind of trying to balance all this busy schedule with a bootstrap startup, essentially. But really, the vision for OfficeGenie in the long run is just being able to deliver a lot of the value that a lot of these AI tools can provide without a lot of the headache, a lot of the cost usually incurred with going with third-party consulting agencies or kind of otherwise. So that's definitely where OfficeGenie has been transitioning into and kind of the direction we're hoping to continue taking the company in the future.
Thanks for that, Hayden. I really appreciate that. And Mike, why don't you also do the same? Tell us a little bit about what kind of got you involved with the project, some of your past, and like where we are at and why you chose to commit so much time and effort to this project.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Hayden said, we're in the RTC program there at UMKC together. I'm studying mechanical engineering, so a bit of a technical background there. Graduating here in December, so ready to get done with that. But it was really over a cup of coffee at a Starbucks with Hayden. We were just chatting about some technology, even how I could leverage it at my previous position at a construction company. And I really just saw his eyes light up, and I was just like, okay, I want to jump in on this too. So Hayden approached me, and I kind of got in on the ground level with this team. I'm just really excited to see where the product's going. But yeah, like Hayden was saying, real busy at times too. I just had my first kid, and my wife live here in Kansas City, and it's just been an exciting journey to kind of be at the starting of what I think is going to be a really powerful product for businesses. I've been helping a lot with the operations side. I'm trying to really help us with the sales efforts for companies, mainly doing the B2B stuff. But I really just think that the product, especially in the way we're going right now with technology, it's going to be super helpful for companies to leverage AI in a way that can help them in their everyday tasks. So really excited with where the product's going and how it can help customers right away.
Absolutely. And Zane, for yourself, I know that we were all working together a few months before that you had gotten involved, but can you kind of give us a rundown of how you got involved in the project, what you've kind of done in the past, in addition to give us a little bit of history about yourself so that the viewers kind of understand who you are and how we're working with you all the way across the planet.
So to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm basically a software engineer. So I've spent 7 years in the industry working on digital products, developing different products for different companies, working on the software services side as well. So that's been my journey as a software engineer. Just being a developer, started at the bottom, was at like a senior level when I met Hayden. We basically met for one-off freelance project regarding OfficeGenie. And at the time I was doing some AWS infrastructure work. I helped Hayden out with that. And then we worked some more on OfficeGenie. I worked on it as a contractor in the beginning. But yeah, basically through that, I got to know more about the product. The idea seemed pretty enticing. seemed applicable at the time, given the whole trajectory the industry was taking with Gen AI being the new thing. And yeah, like getting to know Hayden and basically knowing his mind regarding the product, the approach that he had, yeah, I agreed with it. And basically, the rest is history. And yeah, it took on a much more full-time role. The product seemed awesome. And yeah, he was kind enough to invite me to join the team. Yeah.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And I know that with working with us all the way across the planet, you're on a flip schedule even right now.
Yeah.
I don't even know what time it is there. It's probably 6 a.m. or something?
It's 11:40 p.m.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah, I'm totally off on. Anyways, we do appreciate you. I know you're working round the clock with us on this, and as well as some of your other projects, as we all are. To kind of give a rundown on myself, before I took the role as the CMO for the company, I've been working in the marketing sector for a long time, working with companies like Red Bull, as well as starting and running my own production company for the past decade. But working with this team, we've been developing the branding efforts from the very beginning, trying to find a good market presence, in addition to just taking some of the other responsibilities, trying to help with some of the creative efforts on what the technical developments should look like and how it should function on the user end. But in collaboration with Mike and Hayden, we've realized that the company's mission has changed over time. But with starting from the beginning, Hayden, do you mind talking about some of the specific problems in the workplace and why OfficeGenie is something that you saw and recognized as an opportunity for a business, and maybe talk about some of your experience in the past of how the product came to be?
Yeah. So kind of, as I mentioned previously, I was working as a data analyst for a telecommunications company. And I did really well in the interview from a technical standpoint, knew all the codes, the processes for doing XYZ. But even after multiple weeks of training and being onboarded for the company, I sat down at my desk and I, put my hands on my keyboard and they said, okay, we need you to do XYZ reports. And I realized that I had no way of knowing how the company wanted their stuff done. So I was left with two options. Either I was having to consult a 1,000-page training manual, flipping through the pages of documentation of analysts in the past, trying to figure my way through the day-to-day stuff, or I could ask other people that were tenured in their position. They'd been around for a while. But even then, I found that different people were saying different things. There was no necessarily standardized way of actually getting stuff done. And so I figured, okay, instead of bothering these other people and being able to assess the validity of the answers that they're giving me, it would be really nice if I could just basically chat with all of this training manual stuff. Around that time, ChatGPT had been out for a little while. I'd experimented with some of these early stage retrieval augmented generation systems. And so I created one that was just kind of working within the terminal of my computer, and I could just mess with things and get some answers. But I created a very rudimentary kind of rough user interface at the time, and I shared it with the team, and they really liked it. At that time, I realized it could be more broadly applicable to businesses if I could create a plug and play system where people would just be able to upload their originally already previously existing internal documents like trading manuals, SOPs, and what have you. And that was really the birth of OfficeGenie. And so about 6 months ago, we realized that, okay, the knowledge base is fantastic, but what a lot of businesses are needing is AI that actually does stuff. And so a more modern or a more novel paradigm within the Gen AI space at that time was agents. So whereas large language models are just that, they're large language models, agents are large language models that have tools or essentially code that they can execute when they decide it's applicable to do so and actually do things on the end user's behalf, whether that be give real-time information or actually go out and execute different kind of tedious, more minor functions. Within the past 6 months specifically, there's been another shift or another layer of abstraction. And instead of just having individual agents, you have these agent trees or these agent systems that can work with each other, pass messages, and do more sequential and complex tasks that an individual agent wouldn't really be able to handle. And so really the only way that businesses are able to implement that now is by going to a third-party agency or using an existing framework that's already out there. But there's two main issues with that. The first being the time it takes to implement. If you're doing a sufficiently complex system, building one from the ground up takes a lot of work and a lot of time. Trust me, I know. I've built one from scratch, and it just takes a lot of time if you're going to do it right. The second issue is that it's generally pretty cost inhibitive for a lot of businesses looking to get into the AI space. If you're a large corporation, Fortune 500 company, you have a team that's already dedicated to doing this type of stuff and developing these types of tools for you. But if you're a small business owner or even a medium-sized business owner and you see the value that Gen AI can provide, but you're not exactly sure exactly how you're going to be implementing it. Then if you look at the cost associated with it, it does make it difficult to justify the purchase or basically take that leap of faith forward. And so the idea behind OfficeGenie and transitioning from just a knowledge-based company to being more of that multi-agent modular plug-and-play system was decreasing the time of implementation and decreasing the leap of faith that business owners have to take in order to really make AI work for their business.
See, that's awesome that you were able to break it down in the most direct way. Because, Mike, I know that your experience of working with Hayden really closely on the development side, as well as working with Zane. And Zane, I want to ask you a question after this as well. Mike, when you go out and with customers on a one-on-one basis and start describing our product to them, how do you feel that we fit in the market compared to other products? In addition to, what are some of the things that people are asking for that other products don't do that something like our product does do?
So I think right now the industry around AI is just becoming like overly saturated, but people still don't know what they're looking for. Like everyone hears the buzzword AI. Even Hayden was talking about, you have these companies that are building massive AI solutions. People don't really know what that looks like in the day-to-day for their business. And where I think OfficeGenie stands out is the way that it's so easily able to be implemented right away. Like even Hayden was talking about, we were getting faster and faster in the implementation process. And then also the fact that it grows with your company. Stuff like our knowledge gap tracker allow for your documentation to show you where you need to be growing and information so that your company and your employees stay aligned with your goals and missions. And I think that really helps just stand OfficeGenie out on its own because we're there from the beginning and we help you get to where you need to be rather than something that needs to be cleaned up before we step in or takes a long process for us to even get involved. We're ready to jump in. I think that's been something that's been able to resonate well with our customers and some of the people we've talked to so far.
And with that, I know that a lot of customers have some very unique problems that they're trying to solve. I know you guys were tackling a few of those for a recent client as well. So one of the questions that I had for you, Zane, is as we've been developing this and we're going through the rigorous testing and quality assurance checks, looking at the performance metrics and things like that, as customers come to us with new problems, do you find that our product is dynamic enough to be able to take on those challenges, to kind of integrate in their existing systems and maybe even solve some problems they didn't even know they had?
Yeah, I guess so. So the way I look at OfficeGenie right now is it's much more of a platform than it's an individual agent, meaning that it has the ability to expand itself, extend itself, to work with other products and other softwares that companies use. For example, popular CRMs like Sugar or like Monday.com. So OfficeGenie, the long-term vision or like where it's going to be pretty soon is basically it's going to be integrated with all of those products that companies use, which is a very unique value proposition that OfficeGenie provides. Other than that, the way OfficeGenie is set up, it's meant to be dynamic and flexible enough where it can cater to just specific use cases. For example, it can just as easily work with a company that's in the medical industry, and it can work with a company that's working in the construction business. The product, it's broad enough, it's flexible enough where it can easily integrate into any company's work practices or like their digital infrastructure. Yeah, I definitely think that, it's going to be something that people are going to find useful. Not only useful, they're going to be surprised to see that it's there because it's a pretty cool product at this point.
This is a question for the whole group here, but what have you guys gotten on the feedback side? Like when customers see the user interface, especially where we began and where we are today, it is like night and day, even over the past 4 months of where it's gone. But from customers actually getting hands-on, testing this product, what are some of the things that people are saying about the product right now?
Yeah, so I think I can probably speak to that, just the demos that I've shared with people. And it really touches on something that's been very instrumental in OfficeGenie's success over the past 6 to 8 months. And that's something that we've all had to learn as a team together. And that's the ability to be flexible and the willingness to adapt to feedback. So I kind of touched on this previously, but originally we were a knowledge management company. That is exactly what we set out to do. And that's really what a lot of our user interface was built around. But again, kind of taking in that user feedback from what other people were saying. Oh, can OfficeGenie do this? Or that's fantastic, but can you do X, Y, Z? We were faced with two options, and either that's making sure that we are essentially doubling down into what OfficeGenie's vision originally was, or pivoting and shifting to what needs to be done in order to align ourselves with what people and businesses are actually looking for. So in interest of doing that, we kind of did redesign our user interface from a very, very kind of basic level and rebuild back up to make sure we're actually driving value to people that we're speaking to. Because at the end of the day, we can make good on our promises to make sure that whatever vision we originally set out, we're doing exactly that. But if it doesn't resonate with people or it doesn't actually provide value, then basically what have we been doing for the past year? So making sure that we're always aligned with the feedback that we're getting and we can continue to adapt the product to that. And I think that modular system that we've built out definitely speaks to our ability to be flexible and has really been instrumental in making sure that we can stay successful in the long term and make sure that we're not shoehorning ourselves or sequestering ourselves into a specific area in Gen AI, just given the fact that it's constantly changing. We don't know what's going to be coming out in a month or two, and we want to position ourselves such that we're not left in the dust when those new advancements happen.
And I know since many of us are wearing a lot of different hats, doing different things, especially yourself, Hayden, one of the questions that I'm going to have for you is the current customers. I know we're working with Emergence Teleradiology, JR & Co. I know we've had several different demos with other larger companies recently. Can you talk about what those customers' needs were and what boxes we checked for those types of businesses specifically and why they chose us over other people?
Yeah, so I'll give two examples here. One is specific to knowledge management and one's just more general. Specific to knowledge management, originally OfficeGenie wouldn't be supporting tabular data. So things like CSVs, Excel files, really anything that's just nicely fit within rows and columns. We recognized that this was a very common ask of businesses. And so we went to the drawing board and learned how to implement it. Given the structure of our system, this was actually a bit more complex than something like ChatGPT's code interpreter, for example, on the implementation side. But given the fact that how many repeated requests we were getting for that type of feature, we decided to go ahead and implement it. At a more general level, again, this kind of speaks to the multi-agent system a bit more directly. People were saying, yes, but what does OfficeGenie do? What can I actually do that's business specific or that OfficeGenie can do on the end user's behalf? And so really that was the driving force in us creating that multi-agent system. So you gave the example of Emergence Teleradiology. So they are constantly interfacing with multiple facilities, multiple hospitals, basically giving reports that speaks to their ability to essentially maintain a positive client relationship. That's a lot of reporting that needs to be done on an ad hoc basis. It's not something that can just be scheduled in a workflow or something that can be easily triggered. And so the idea was that, okay, what if we could have OfficeGenie kind of integrating with their on-prem data solutions such that OfficeGenie could initialize those reports and you would actually be able to go in and essentially ping all of those reporting softwares from OfficeGenie and actually have it email and execute. If you have something that's a bit more standardized, like a Monday.com or a CRM or GitHub, Jira, basically any of those existing platforms, so long as we can connect to it programmatically, of course, that stuff is there too. But really the main benefit of this system is being able to trigger or initialize more asynchronous kind of background processes that can be highly business specific. And I think Emergence Teleradiology is a good example of that.
And now following on with that, when it comes down to some of the technical aspects of what customers can experience when they're first getting involved with us, Zane, do you mind walking us through what that looks like from, we're talking day 0 to day 5? What is the kind of flow of getting a customer onboarded? Because a lot of people have questions about, is it going to be cumbersome for me to switch all my stuff over to this company? Is it easy for me to leave? Because no one wants to be locked into anything crazy. Could you walk us through that?
Yes, sure. So it's going to be super simple. All they got to do is take a few buttons. The way OfficeGenie's onboarding process is set up, we actually integrate with a lot of social media companies or like the common accounts that people use, Google accounts. You can just basically use your Google account to log in. And the way OfficeGenie is set up, it's basically free for everyone to use. If you have basic needs or not very extensive needs, you can use it for free basically every day. The login sign-up process is simple enough, just as you would log in or sign up with any other SaaS product online. You can sign up with OfficeGenie using your Gmail account. So other than that, what they can expect on OfficeGenie, let's say on day 1, is a super simple chat platform that allows you to basically do anything you want. So send out emails, run reports, create reports using your own knowledge base, upload files, folders, run analysis on those files and folders. Basically, yeah, it'll be like ChatGPT and a bunch of other cool products out there all roll into one. So it's capable of doing a lot. It's capable of giving you the sources that it's fetching information from. Yeah, so I think people are going to like it. On day one, it's definitely going to be something that is used and in the perspective that it is a knowledge-based management system, an AI ecosystem, and an extendable platform that can integrate with your email manager, your task manager platform, like Jira or something, all at once, all in one portal.
And so, Mike, as you've been going out and talking with customers about this, doing the demos, testing things out, getting people involved, have you felt like the way that Zane described it being more of like you just sign up with a single sign-on source, your Google account or business account? Has it been that easy for you to get people on board? And does it feel like customers are pretty quick to adopt to it? Do they need a lot of training to be able to get up to speed on how to use it?
Definitely not a very steep learning curve with this product. I think even something that's like worth mentioning is the fact that a lot of other products that kind of sit within the same industry as us require you to either change your file types or clean up your file system before you can start uploading stuff and start playing with it. Ours is really just drag and drop. And it's as easy as like setting up a file system within like your Google Share drive or your SharePoint drive, right? Just name some files, put the documents you want in there and start interacting with it. So it doesn't take like a savant or somebody who's really technically minded to be able to hop on here and start playing with it. It's really just like anybody can start jumping on here and start getting their answers to their questions with their data they have on hand. So I think that's just something that customers have really resonated with. The fact that they don't need to have somebody on site who's good with data cleaning up or a data analysis, or someone who's going to have to take a month or a week to set this whole system up. It's really, if you're a company admin or you're even the company owner, you could set this up within a matter of an hour, have all your documents on there, upload multiple documents at the same time, and then just really start having the value put back towards the company when your customers or are getting faster service or your employees are getting their jobs done more quickly.
So from when I hear that, I assume that means that a customer from day 0 to day 5 could be up and running within a week, like almost immediately. Now, when it comes down to transferring to another service, say, for example, they use our product, they've enjoyed it so far, but they're looking for something that's a little bit more dynamic. Are they going to be locked into using our stuff? Do they have the ability to transfer to another service? And how difficult is for them to secure their data while they have it with us and or remove the data? Maybe Hayden or Zane, could you guys comment on that?
Yeah. So when it comes to data security on the platform, data security isn't really something that they have to worry about doing themselves because that's fully managed on our end. So business information is separated into multiple kind of buckets that can't be there's no cross-pollination is kind of a good way to put it. So actually within the platform, we can also provision particular user groups. So I'll just walk through an example here. Let's say your business decides to hop on OfficeGenie and you create 5 top-level folders. Let's just say public information, sales, HR, marketing, finance. Whatever information you put into those particular folders, you can provision or remove access at the user level. So if you have a business with 50 employees, you can assign user groups that have access to particular different folders or subsets of your knowledge base and assign those users to those user groups. What that actually looks like for the end user is they hop on the chat page, they ask OfficeGenie questions, and even if they're associated with the same workspace, OfficeGenie will first check their folder access to assess what information it can use to actually respond back to the user. And it'll make sure it's adhering to both the privacy of the kind of larger system or the multitude of businesses that are on OfficeGenie, but then at a more granular level at the user access groups. Additionally, going into the user access groups a little deeper, we had kind of mentioned plugins or platforms that can extend the functionality of OfficeGenie, something like a Jira integration or a Gmail integration. With those user groups, you can also provision access to specific platforms based on users' needs. On the high level stuff, the security, that is fully managed by OfficeGenie. And at a more granular level, businesses or business admins more specifically do have the ability to secure and put a lock on particular documents or information or platforms that they wouldn't want basically publicly available to every employee or every team member within their company.
At that rate, because their information is secured on our site, that means that they also have the confidence and ability to know that at any time that they feel like they need to withdraw their information from our platform, they're not just leaving the door open for someone else to find it later. And so with that, I know that when it comes down to our customer support and technical support side of things, what does that kind of look like for our customers on a day-to-day basis? If they run into an issue, Do we have like minimum review times and assistance times? Do we have some sort of support system for that? Because I know right now, being a small team, you guys are working round the clock on shifts on this, but what do you think that will look like in the future for customers?
So there's going to be different tiers of support for different types of questions that people would have. So the good thing is we're positioned to have a really nice knowledge base regarding OfficeGenie information. So any general purpose questions regarding getting around the software, using things, what we would consider basically tier 1 support, you're going to be able to actually message OfficeGenie directly, and it'll understand and be able to answer those questions accordingly. If you have any platform extensibility issues, say, hey, my business is using XYZ platform, but I don't see that you have a plugin for it, there will be a request form such that they can go in, basically say, hey, my business uses XYZ. And because of the modularity of OfficeGenie, it's actually in our best interest, which is very unique to how we've set up our business structure, to implement that platform for you. And so provided that a lot of people are going to be using that and it's something that's a lot more general purpose, basically Zane and I will just build it for you and get it added to your account. You'll get an email in a few days. Let's say it takes a few weeks to develop it, and boom, there you go. So you have a very direct point of connection or a very direct communication flow to actually enact change on the platform as you see fit. Because we recognize that, hey, we have this high level vision for the platform, but it really takes businesses or individual business feedback to determine exactly what that direction looks like for us. At a much more customized level, let's say you have something like specific reporting needs or specific extensibility needs, like, hey, I need an on-prem platform integration, or hey, I need XYZ built out for us. That can also be done at a bit more of a contract, kind of a project basis, should you have any of those kind of needs as well. So we really fulfill what I would consider to be kind of like the pyramid of support, going from those very general purpose usability questions, the platform specific plugin questions, and kind of any other extensibility or any other integration that they would need built out.
Now, I know one of the big questions that people have with any type of software solution is uptime. When we start looking at things like ChatGPT, I know they even have some sort of public way where they're able to show the uptime of their platform. I know because of us being so small and the resources that we have at this time, our goal is to have something like that, especially with historical documentation. But what do you think that would look like for the customer? What are their expectations in regards to if they log in one day, do they have the confidence day in, day out for their business to have this product up and running consistently?
Zane, I'll kind of let you touch on that. You're the infrastructure guy.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So, the way our infrastructure is set up right now, I'd say there's a very high likelihood that once you log on, you're not gonna see a snap page. So the way our infrastructure is set up, it's all built on microservices, scalable, independent microservices. So we're hopeful that we're not going to have any scalability issues, not anytime soon. So yeah, we're pretty confident that any users, any amount of traffic that we get within the first few months, or let's say even the year, our infrastructure is going to be able to hold up. So the way it's set up, it's basically independent microservices, which can scale independently based on the rate of traffic that's incoming. And at the same time, we can scale it down to cut our infrastructure costs. So yeah, I'd say the likelihood that there's going to be an OSNAP page, I don't think it's very high. Yeah.
And for you, Mike, on the operational side of things, I know that a lot of tech companies, they have relationships with their customers, or once they buy, that's pretty much the extent of their conversation. You know, even if there's any type of engagement, what type of relationship can customers expect to have with OfficeGenie on an ongoing basis? Is there some sort of way that we can engage our customers, or that you expect that you would like to have engagement with their customers, and what can they expect from us on a B2B level?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Hayden kind of touched a bit of this with our support tier. We want to build the product to be the best for them, right? Because when they have a product that's really robust, we have a product that's really robust. It's a very symbiotic relationship. When we have the opportunity to build all these add-ons, we get the opportunity to also offer all these add-ons. So it's a type of relationship where we're going to help you guys, help the company, help the business owner get to where they need to be so they can have the solutions for their employees, for their customers, and we get to grow with them in that process. And it's the type of the relationship where they're not just going to be put onto the side or get to a remote email box. We interface with our customers one-to-one. I think we'll try to keep that as long as we can. It can be very informal with a lot of SaaS type products. You hop on a website, you never talk to a single person. It's even with the way we do pitches and the way we do demos. We want this to be a product that you actually get to see someone, you get to see them use it, and then you get to use it and leverage it to your own advantage. So it's definitely a very personal relationship. We like to have personal relationship with our customers. That probably makes us stand out a little bit from most SaaS products. But I think that's also just one of our competitive advantages compared to other companies.
And this is a question for the group as well. Say, for example, if I myself was buying into this company and my needs change over time, I would assume, this is how I would look at it, is we leave the door open for new problems to solve.
Yeah.
As customers grow and expand and say they have a necessity for something in addition to what they already have, they aren't just restricted to the use cases of the product as it stands right now. If they have new problems, we have new solutions that we can create for them to an extent. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I'd say that's very central to our team's vision and how we've handled things thus far. And it's really been very at the core of our team. I don't like to use the word culture, but certainly how we go about thinking about things and kind of how the product is going to be shifting in the future. It's definitely going to be heavily reliant on client feedback and the feedback that we get from people or potential clients, or just basically anyone that takes a look at the product and says, hey, I think you could improve on this. Definitely taking a position of humility and not thinking, oh, we're too good for your feedback, or, oh, we already have it figured out. Thanks, but no thanks. That's definitely not something that we want to be basically associated with OfficeGenie as a company. So in full reversal of that, being very open to feedback we get from people is going to be, I think, very instrumental and very important in our success in the long term.
Cool. That's awesome. And that kind of brings us towards what the future looks like. Now, we've talked a little bit about other technologies in the industry, but what do you think the direction of not just our technology, but AI in general, where do you guys think that it's going to go here within the next 5 to 10 years? How is that going to change the way that business operates on a day-to-day basis? And because a lot of people are worried AI is going to replace my job. I hear that all the time. I would refer that to the idea of it's not going to replace you. It's going to more reskill you, teach you new things and help you. But what would you guys like to talk about in regards to the future of this technology and other technology and how this is going to play a role in that as things evolve?
Yeah. So if we were to expand our timeline a little bit, just as a thought experiment, take things back to the entry of the personal computer or the entry of Excel being a platform or an application that businesses could use. If we were to look back on people from the decades past and basically say, oh, I'm a data analyst, Excel is going to replace me, or Excel is going to take my job. Absolutely not. It just makes you significantly more efficient in your job such that you can actually execute high-level directives a lot easier than you previously had to do. So really what we see OfficeGenie as being is not a replacement for human people, or I don't want to basically push the idea that, hey, AI is going to end up being like Skynet for small businesses or medium-sized businesses, or really even large corporations. But really, we want to position AI, or Gen AI specifically, in the business realm as being a workforce multiplier. So it would be like doubling your workforce. Every person has an executive assistant. There's a reason why executive assistants are really nice for people to have, because they can abstract away and take care of a lot of the information tasks, a lot of the tedious tasks, such that you can still do what you want to do. It's just quicker to the finish line. And that's really what we see as being kind of what OfficeGenie is as a product, especially moving in accordance with the technological advancements that AI makes in the future.
What about yourself, Zane? From your experience of working with international clients on a consistent basis, do you see that being a common pattern? And are there differences between larger companies and smaller businesses and their needs? And why do you think that it's necessary for people to implement this type of a tool to be able to keep up with the way the changes are happening?
So I absolutely agree with Hayden and yourself. I don't think AI is going to take your job. It's going to more so force you to offload some of that workload to your AI assistant or something, or maybe reskill you in a way to use AI constructively in your job. But in the context of using AI in big businesses, or like basically based on my personal observation, when it comes to enterprises or like bigger companies, the shift towards AI, I feel like is going to be slower in the sense that it is going to take more time for them to incorporate that into their everyday practices or processes, just because of the kind of compliance and standardization policies that they have, right? So that is the only kind of drawback or hurdle I see. But other than that, like a product like OfficeGenie is a natural fit for SMBs, like small to medium businesses. So it helps you optimize like basically every function of your business, from accounting to marketing to HR to like let's even development if you're like a software company, right? So the trajectory or the apparent destination is definitely there, which is basically AI is going to penetrate into every sector of business. And economically speaking, overall, I would say the impact it's going to have, it's actually going to end up creating more jobs than it replaces or takes. But at the end of the day, yeah, the future, one would definitely have to reskill themselves to, it's definitely going to be an age where we would have to learn to live with AI and use AI.
See, I really like the way that you commented on how larger companies, even though they have the funding and the resources to implement this type of technology, I always kind of envision it as the 800-pound gorilla. Yes, it's strong, it's powerful, but it's very slow to move in any type of direction. So, and again, with small businesses having that flexibility to adjust their fire and move in a different direction, I see it as a competitive advantage. It almost levels the playing field between the larger companies with all those resources and the smaller businesses, because now one person who's able to implement this can do more. And Mike, have you seen that with working with companies? Because I know like JR and Co., one of our customers currently was on implementing something like this, or even emergence teleradiology. What do you think is the advantage for a company? And what do you think the sizes are that would benefit? Is the advantage like today for implementing something like this?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that you're going to see with AI is efficiency, right? People have finite number of funds, finite number of resources, finite number of employees. So it's basically making the most of what you have. And AI is just that equalizer, like you were talking about efficiency-wise. So if you can have someone do 1.5 times their work output because they're using these AI technologies, automatically a business sees massive amounts of value in that because it increases their output. So with some of the companies we've been able to work with, they do think they have to take all these steps to get ready for this type of technology. And we talked about this multiple times, but OfficeGenie just stands out because it doesn't take too much to be ready. You literally just have to have your files. Preferably you have them all online, but if not, you can scan them and then put them into the system because that's all it is. And overall from your company right away. And that's just been something that's like really valuable. And sometimes it's almost too hard to believe, right? A company hears about all this massive impact that this product can have. They're almost like, I don't believe it. But once they actually start to see it and they actually start to see what the UI looks like, they start to see what it looks like to interact with the product, then it becomes very believable and very attainable. And that's really extremely valuable to some of the customers we talk to.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, like the unbelievability of this technology. I know I myself, when I first heard about large language models and I was using products that could do that, and these chat interfaces were almost like human to a sense, like to an extent. Even now, like you can still like once, especially us working with this all the time, like I can spot AI text from a mile away now. But do you guys feel like this is a splash in the pan? You know, like I know a lot of customers, when they hear about new and emerging technology, they're always like, well, it's here today, gone tomorrow. Do you feel like this is something that's going to stick around? Is it going to be something that's going to go on for the next 20 years? Like, what do you think?
I think it's going to take a violent shape if you look at it on the axis of time. So initially, you know, around like 2020, 2021, we saw ChatGPT first come out. Really, that was the first widespread publicly adopted large language model that was generally available to the public. This technology had been around for years preceding that, but really that was the first instance of widespread public adoption. And of course, as a result of that, you saw this massive explosion of AI startups coming out. And now we kind of feel like we're in a weird position where everyone understands the potential value that AI can provide, but the actual realized or applicable value is still something that's being kind of refined and really kind of decided on. So I'll give a perfect example. Google, they're a search engine. They've been around for quite some time. They hopped on the AI train and they were basically implementing AI search overviews. But the difficult thing you run into is implementing AI for the sake of implementing AI does more harm than good because, well, in Google's case specifically, you were implementing a RAG type system, but instead of having control over the documents that are a part of that or the context that's a part of that retrieval augmented generation, it was just the public internet. And if there's anything I know about the public internet, there's some weird stuff on it. So Jim and I was telling people that eat glue and rocks on pizza, that you can actually work out 8 days a week because it wasn't actually filtered. And so a lot of these times, whenever you have these bigger, larger, basically legacy corporations that are trying to implement AI without building their existing product around it, you can kind of get this weird a friction point where the AI or the technology behind the product is cool, but it falls short or it doesn't really hit the mark because it wasn't really designed for AI to be there to begin with. And it feels like pandering. It feels like, oh, we're just doing it because our investors or our shareholders are going to like it. So really the companies that are going to stand the test of time are companies that can implement AI in a way where it was AI first and not just AI added on there for the buzzword, for the header on their website for SEO. So I really think that's going to be very, very important. And even the startups that are around this age, around this time, really the ones that are going to be around here in 5 years and 10 years are ones that are implementing AI that's associated and very closely tied with an actual value proposition and not just, oh, look at this cool new tool that we made. So really, we're trying to stay in that group specifically so that way we can be here for years and years to come. But yeah, there will continue to be refinement on the startup level and on the enterprise level.
Yeah, because it was almost kind of like the cryptocurrency boom or the .com boom, where there's all these companies and just like everybody has this new tool or, new feature. And like a lot of them just seem like copies of the same thing. Almost everywhere, man. And I see it all the time. And we've had conversations at length, I think even between all four of us at some point, where I'll send a link of this new product that came out and immediately you're like, yeah, that's the same thing as this. And I kind of see it like with the .com bubble, where everything started to grow really quick. And then companies started acquiring one another, adding their features into their own, or just out competing them. And I kind of feel like that's how the AI industry is going to be. Because a lot of them are only focused on one thing. And that's where I think our main differentiating factor is that we are more focused on problem solving a lot of things for the customers and integrating in those capabilities with other tools and resources that will help them grow over time. And that's like when we talk about AI assistance in general and what's influencing the work habits and productivity into the coming years, like when it comes down to businesses implementing this, we can talk a little bit more about the individual, because when someone hears chatbot, they think of that thing that pops up in the corner of their website or, some sort of chat window that they're communicating with all their coworkers and say like Slack. But do you see this being implemented even on an individual level? And is it restricted to large businesses, medium businesses, or small businesses?
So yeah, Mike, I think you might be better positioned for that. I know that with college for engineering and stuff, you might be able to share some stuff.
No,
there.
I think with a lot of the customers we talk to, immediately, like you were saying, when they hear chatbot, they automatically think outward facing. Oh, is it something that like is going to interface with my customers? And there are tools for that, and there are things that are coming out for that. I think that will end up being what some people will still associate chatbot with. But what it really is it's the inward facing thing, right? And when it was just when we were like in I would say like one of our first stages, just as a knowledge management, that it probably didn't have value for the teams of one or two. But as we've really moved along to now, this is just your AI assistant that does all these tasks for you. There's really no cap on how many or how little people can be using this product for it to be valuable. It can be one person interacting with it and they're still going to have value because it's going to be able to do a lot of things just to speed up that efficiency. Because at the end of the day, people are all chasing efficiency because that's going to get them the most at the end. That's going to help their bottom line by increasing their output and their profit. So it can be perfect for an individual user who's just trying to increase their efficiency on a day-to-day basis, or for the company that has 500 employees and is trying to make major moves either by decreasing overhead or rather just increase productivity. And you can do that with OfficeGenie. And that's just where it stands out, is by helping anybody in their day by increasing their output.
Yeah, and I know personally, when we had first started on this project, I was in my last semester of college, and I wish I had something like this throughout school. Just being able to drop books into it and ask questions that the teachers were asking me, and then ask questions of why the answer was the way it was. Because like on the internet, everybody can use products like Quizlet, for example, to find the answer. But sometimes it's like, yeah, but I want to know why that's the answer. And that's really, in my opinion, why retrieval augmented generation is so powerful, is you can upload your SOPs or your documents, or you could say for students, their textbooks, ask very specific questions and ask questions around it so that you can actually find the result that you're looking for. And so that kind of brings us into how we want to address future concerns for customers and how the technology is something that they can trust and build with us and ask us those really hard-hitting questions. Do you guys have anything that you've been asked so far that you would like other people to know about, that is really those hard-hitting things that at first, when we were first working on this project, wasn't something we even thought of, And now we have found answers too. Hayden, you're shaking your head on this. What do you think is something that kind of hits you in the beginning where you're like, well, I'm glad we have the answer now?
Yeah, this isn't even something that I considered being a question when we first started, but a lot of people brought it to my attention, a lot of businesses. And when I was asked it, it made sense. Oh, of course I'm being asked this question. And that is, do we train on your data? And so as a business, it doesn't make sense for OfficeGenie to train on someone's data, or basically the data that's either uploaded to OfficeGenie's knowledge base or is sent in via chat. And really kind of the motive or the rationale behind people asking that question is they immediately draw comparisons between OfficeGenie and something like Claude by Anthropic or ChatGPT by OpenAI or Gemini by Google, where they actually have a angle to basically take to, okay, I'm trying to generate the next kind of generation of large language models, and I need training data to do that. And so the first kind of pool of data that they can pull from is the actual chats that are being sent in by users. We don't train models, and as a result, we have no incentive structure even behind using your data to train future models. So we can go ahead and just very plainly say from the get-go, no, absolutely none of your data will ever be used to train any large language models. Simply put, because we don't train large language models. So not only can you take our word for it, but just as a business, our incentive structure doesn't really align to it. I understand that if a tech company says, hey, we don't steal your data, I mean, okay, sure. It would make sense for you to steal my data, but it doesn't even make sense for us. So yeah, that's definitely been a question regarding security and privacy that I hadn't really been expecting to hear, but certainly after kind of understanding why they were asking that question, it makes sense. But we can confidently say, no, that's not something you have to worry about.
A lot of people ask, how am I going to be able to tell that it's actually like helping me? How am I going to be able to tell that I'm actually saving money? And as a decision maker, most of the time you're away from all the questions, right? It's your lower level managers, even your mid-level managers who are getting bombarded with the questions and the day-to-day difficulties. But as we've made the product more and more robust, our admin page has become more and more robust. So you as the business owner, as a decision maker can see, oh, here's how much time my employees are saving. And that that can be correlated directly to your overhead, your production rate, your bottom line, right? And basically being able to show that to business owners, hey, here's how many questions are not getting answered. Here's where your data is having a black hole that you need to start to plug so you can increase that productivity. Here's where people are asking a lot that you need to do a training seminar on this. That is just so much value dropped in the lap of a decision maker, of a company manager, of a company owner. I think that's something that, like, at first it was like, okay, we're going to start something up here, but that page has just become so robust where there's so much detail and data that a business owner can see to really decide where they need to start putting emphasis on for their company.
And that's a big thing too, is we're being able to be transparent, especially as a knowledge company, is one of our main priorities. I know a lot of customers, they have questions about what's behind the veil. They think of these big companies like Google and Microsoft, and they have the infrastructure to where, they can track everything you do, everywhere you click and what they do. Resource wise, we aren't at the same position as that. And even if we had, we wouldn't. And a lot of that comes down to, there are things that we do try and track that can assist you, such as knowledge gaps, such as performance, trying to really just provide resources to the administrators so that they have the ability to improve their business internally. Hayden, do you mind diving into some of our resources for administrators that will, especially over the next 6 to 8 months, as we start implementing more resources, where we are now and where we will be in the future with that?
So really the first instance delivering important analytics to admins of a business was our knowledge gap tracking system. This is something that, to my knowledge, is quite unique to OfficeGenie and how it implements itself. So I'll give an example. Let's say you're a business owner, you create a knowledge base on OfficeGenie, you upload 10 or 12 documents to it, just basically general high-level stuff. An employee or a team member gets on OfficeGenie and says, hey, what's the request for, submitting PTO? I'm getting married in a few weeks or what have you, a few months, and I'd like to submit a PTO request. If OfficeGenie searches the knowledge base and comes up with, absolutely nothing, you might expect it just to say, hey, I don't know, or even worse than that, hallucinate. But don't worry, OfficeGenie doesn't do that. In fact, it does one step better. It will mark it as a knowledge gap, meaning that it doesn't just go unanswered. It's now delivered on a silver platter to the admin saying, hey, you had an employee asking about this, and I couldn't find an answer for you. Can you go ahead and please add it? Once the admin adds that answer to the knowledge base, it is synced in real time with everybody, such that now anytime someone asks that question, OfficeGenie can actually deliver an answer to them. And really at the heart of that feature is the idea of answer once, never again. If you're a manager, if you're someone that's working at a mid to senior level position, I'm sure that you've experienced time and time again, I feel like I'm answering the same questions over and over again. So not only does the knowledge base itself kind of fix that, but that knowledge gap tracking makes it very, very easy to, again, on a silver platter, have those unanswered questions delivered to you such that you can quickly fill those gaps, move on with your day, and do bigger and better things with your time.
And that kind of brings us to what people will expect from us in the future. I know we've talked about having it mobilely accessible. I know we've talked about different functionalities, different integrations, extensibility to it. Where do you think we're going to be at in 6 months to a year?
Yeah, I think that mobile extensibility is going to be a big basically shift for us. And really the reasoning or the rationale behind that is delivering information to people that are on the go. So let's say you have an HVAC company and you have service techs that are going out and interfacing or basically repairing all of these different broken units or what have you. Being able to pull up and essentially chat with the training manual or the service repair guide for whatever particular unit you're working with, instead of having to wait on hold for a master technician for a few hours, can really benefit your business. It improves morale because now people aren't waiting around for answers. It's really the exact same value proposition for sitting in the office, except people make the assumption that because I'm not on a computer all day, I don't need something like AI or OfficeGenie or really any type of AI product to benefit your business. But being able to get questions answered quickly is applicable for anybody, whether your butt stays on a chair all day or you're out in the field doing work. I'll give another quick example for the most mobile extensibility. If you're a salesperson going out and interfacing with the client, I need XYZ. What in your product catalog do you have to answer my question? Instead of saying, hold on 1 minute, potentially kind of risking, losing interest from a particular prospective client. If you can just ask OfficeGenie, hey, what products do we have that show XYZ need, and get a bulleted list with citations back to the original product links, that makes your job significantly easier. So really having that mobile extensibility helps out just from a knowledge management perspective. Specifically, being able to get those answers quickly is going to be huge for people that are field workers or just kind of out day to day doing their jobs.
And it's kind of crazy because when we first started working on this project, just understanding the technical side more now than I have ever, I've always envisioned OfficeGenie as almost being like Jarvis from Iron Man, where it just is like your own personal assistant in your ear where you can communicate with it. And I know that that's something that we are going to be implementing as well in the next year, is having the ability to communicate verbally with the actual AI and it respond to you on a conversational level. And I could see that opening up so many opportunities for sales teams, for support teams, for pretty much anybody. You just ask a question and get the answer. It's just mind-bending because then it's catered just for you. Now, we've touched on a lot of subjects and we're right now just about to hit the hour mark. I just wanted to close this out by saying that we really appreciate everybody taking the time to be able to spend just an afternoon with us to go over some of this product stuff. We're going to be covering a lot more things here in the future. And do any of you guys have anything you'd like to say to the audience before we go?
No, I mean, I think you did a good job covering everything. We definitely talked about a lot today. So yeah, thanks for checking us out. Very excited for what the future has to hold. And
the one thing I might
That's
throw
all.
in there is just don't be afraid of trying something, right? A lot of these people I think are waiting for the tech giants to battle it out and then they'll go with the winner. You don't know who that's going to be. You don't know how long it's going to be. So go ahead and start to look into some of these advancements where we're willing to give demos. We're willing to give the opportunity for you to even look at our own product because you don't want to be left in the dust. And this is a technology that's continuing to be very dynamic. So get your toes wet, start to see where this could help your business, get to help you individually today.
And that's where we want to close out here is just by saying, if you want to try this product, it is free right now. If you want to be able to get access to it, just visit OfficeGenie.ai, sign up, use it for free. Like Mike just said, get your toes wet, test it out, send us some questions, give us some recommendations of what you'd like to know. And we'd be happy to conversate with you and help build anything out that you need. So again, my name is Aaron Monson. This is Hayden, Mike, and Zane. We'll be able to get you on the next one, but drop a comment with any questions that you have, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.